All right. At this time, we have in our chat room here, in our Zoom room, we have Mr. Hosea Cleveland and Michael Gaskin. I thank you for joining us this morning, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
All right. I will let Michael go ahead with the introductions, please.
Well, good morning. Good morning, Mr. Cleveland.
Good morning, Michael.
Good morning. I know that 10 minutes go by pretty fast, so I think one of the best things to get the bang for the buck here is just go ahead and just let you have this 10 minutes and you tell us what you want us to know and how we can help you. So I'm just going to turn it over to you, sir.
Okay, well, I appreciate that, Michael. You are a very easy interviewer. And of course, we've worked together before. So, no stranger to Greenwood County. And of course, I've been around a while. And every now and again, I guess you need to update to those who are not familiar with you. But so from time to time, you need to update yourself, and for those who don't know about you. And so I want to just briefly give you some idea about myself and my family history. I am a native South Carolinian as well as a native Oconian. My family has been in Oconee since 1810. Henry Cleveland is my grandfather 4, born 1810. And of course, my grandmother, who father's name was Abraham Cleveland, was born somewhere around 1900, maybe 1905. She really didn't know the dates because, of course, the old home place they lived in was destroyed by fire, and her mother passed when she was 4, so that was the best she could recollect. But my grandmother was the oldest African I've ever known, born around 1900. And her dad's name was Abraham Cleveland. Abraham was born around 1877. And of course, Abraham was the first freeborn African in my bloodline. And from Abraham all the way back to Henry Cleveland, all of those folks are buried right here in Oconee County at St. Matthew Baptist Church, where my family has been since that time. And the only one's not there we can't find is Henry himself. Our namesake comes back from is believed to come back from the Revolutionary War of Colonel Benjamin Cleveland. And so we haven't been able to find Henry and where he's buried, but the rest of his descendants are buried right here in Oconee County. Now, we haven't been able to find Henry's dad, which of course he was born before the Revolutionary War. Don't know if he was sold to another name or took action in the Revolutionary War. We really don't know, but that would be a good thing to find out, because since being in America, my family has fought in every war to date, or some member of my family has fought in every war to date. So I'm no stranger in Oconee County, neither is my family. And of course, you know, there's as a old proverb about a good name. So when I grew up here in the little village called Westminster, back then it was so small, it wasn't big enough to be a town, but they call it a town, but it's really just a little village. My mother, who was a very top scholar, became pregnant with me while attending the school and college of the blind, and that lost her opportunity to go to college, and she came back, and so somewhere in the early 60s, she moved in downtown Westminster, a little old place there, which was called a housing project. We had 3 bedrooms, a bath and a half. And it was there that I really did grow up as a child. My neighborhood was made up of about 7 duplexes. And most of the folks there are all beside my mother was retired folks or older folks, because at that time, segregation, they were all Black, retired, or senior citizens. And my mother was not sighted, so I spent my time, if I wasn't in school or at my grandmother's house, running errands for these seniors, and rub down, get a can of snuff or a pack of cigarettes or eggs or whatever, and usually earn a couple of pennies or nickels, and it made a pretty good rattle in my piggy bank. But it was a great childhood, because while my grandmother lived out in the country where I preferred to spend most of my time, it was a hook-fin paradise, and it's just barefooted on the creek bank, cleaning fish and bringing back to my grandmother to prepare them with some red-eyed gravy. So childhood was simple. It was clean. The environment was clean. The water was clean. You could cup your fingers and dip your hand down in a stream and just drink just clear crystal water. Maybe hard to imagine doing that today, but it was a beautiful time. And of course, I was born in the 50s. So back then, childhood was very, very lovable, and had surrounded by folks who love you and tried to give you the best of what was affordable. And so as I grew up, Michael, in my childhood, earning a nickel and dime here in downtown Westminster, in the summertime, I'd be out in the country with my grandmother, and she was very resourceful. We would pick gallons or quarts of blackberries and dewberries, and she would sell them for a couple of dollars, and all the grandsons would get a little pinch off of it. And that was another source of income, because you could buy a candy bar for a nickel. But I tell you, that was the best part of it all, Michael, just getting your money enough so you get your nice candy bar during that time. Right. And so I learned quick that servicing others and doing for others and getting a little pay for it, there was nothing wrong with that. And it didn't matter whether you were selling blackberries to the white Americans at that time and dewberries, or running errands for seniors. It taught me a valuable lesson. And as we stayed there in our hometown, and I was graduated from Westminster High School in 1975. I was a good student in high school. And a pretty good athlete. I just wasn't big enough. And while I had a couple of classmates who got scholarships, I did not. And, I've been from a poor working class family. College was out. And my mom just hated the idea of me joining the military. But sure enough, my grandmother and my auntie outruled her. And I found myself in the United States Army as a Vietnam non-combat veteran. And it was wonderful training. I made my first stripes in basic, went to jump school, had a great learning tool. But my mother, who was adamant about me not going, finally figured out a way to make me come home. And somewhere halfway through my first tour, I did submit to her wishes and came home and took care of my mother until she succumbed. But it was the military that allowed me to go to college. And so in '79, 4 years later, I was accepted at the State University there in Orangeburg in the engineering program, which I had did some engineering studies, civil engineering studies, while at Tri-County Tech, the local tech school here, and which made getting accepted there a little easier. And so that is what started my professional life. Graduating 4 years later, I was on track, worked as a civil engineer with the South Carolina Department of Highway and Public Transportation, doing mostly rural route and plane surveys, bridge inspection, things like that. But it was a good experience. Sometime in that, during that time, my girlfriend back home became pregnant. I came back home, I got married, went to Clemson, studied industrial management and the graduate program, and started raising a family. And that is where what led me into my adulthood and my career. We had a wonderful family, did a lot of traveling. We had 2 daughters together, a tall heel and a bulldog. It was understood when they got old enough to talk, that we expected one of them to attend the HBCU because my wife and I both were graduates of HBCUs, but my oldest daughter, of course, accepted that challenge, and she, while being an honor student and accepted in all the major schools in the state of South Carolina, she decided to go to her dad's alma mater and became an SC State Bulldog. She now teaches school in Georgia and is a homeowner there and doing very well. And Christina, my youngest daughter, from the day she was born, her room was littered with University of North Carolina blue colors. And that is where she went to school and graduated from. And of course, she's a journalist, North Carolina School of Journalism. But so we rocked on there, and when my wife was diagnosed with breast cancer, that sort of changed the dynamics of my life. Mm-hmm. And I got away from everything except raising the family. But my love, as my wife always said, you should be a salesperson or a politician. And we made an effort toward that, but before it came to fruition, she lost her battle with cancer. Now, we started I started my whole introduction to South Carolina, a Democrat Party and politics of South Carolina in 2014. But prior to that, I had followed every race and kept up with everything. I've always been, I guess, a political junkie.
Let me ask you one question, because I know we're a little pressed on time. Tell us one of your issues that you feel dear to your heart that separates you from Mr. Duncan. That's going to make a big difference for the people.
Yes, and that's and I'm sorry I got lost thinking about how awful that was trying to get prepared to run. So I did find two professors, a professor from Furman University and a professor from Central Western College, who are both digital marketers and doing a great job with my campaign. And the thing that I told them most was that we're going to identify this whole this campaign with one of our primary, and you can find all our positions out there, but one of our primary things with equal representation in the public sector. There's no one who hired more than the government, and that's federal, state, local, and all. And it will resolve many of the issues that we see now in inequalities toward Black American, inequality toward America itself, and to make America look like the diversity that it is. And we can leave the affirmative action EEOC for the private sector. You see, my two daughters, millennials, born in 85 and 90, were the first in my and most generations of African Americans to be born without the dark clouds of Jim Crow or enslavement. And you can see the talent of these kids and why that is so important, not for any race specific or gender specific, but because now my granddaughter, who is a Gen Z, the elite generation, is based on their own merits. But it is the responsibility of the government to make all programs equal and accessible to all. And then as you go down, as we've laid out our positions and how we're going to address them, you'll see that this has been well planned, and we have the kind of talent to make it happen. So let me just tell you, let me just invite you guys to understand that we have some really, really good ideas that we're about to unroll. And you will see things done this cycle that you have not seen before. This is the kind of talent that we have with this campaign. And I look forward to doing that. And I look forward to addressing you. And I'm sorry I got so long-winded there. I got caught up in my own history, but I do thank you, Mr. Chair, for inviting me this morning. And I do thank the Greenwood County Democrats who are in attendance for allowing me to address you. And Michael, so it's good to see you and good to hear your voice again. And thank you for giving me that time to refamiliarize myself to the county.
No, we appreciate it. It's sometimes refreshing to get to know the person. You get caught up on issues, you get caught up on slogans, and you forget there's real human flesh and blood that's doing this. You're volunteering your time. You're not doing this for any personal gain or purpose. You're doing this from true dedication and willingness to serve. And I think it actually was very enlightening to learn about your history, things that, I've seen you talk here in Greenwood in the past, and I didn't know most of that history you just brought up. So I appreciate it, and we would love to have you back on again in the future. We can maybe deep dive into some of those platforms that you say you're going to be rolling out shortly.
Yes, sir. Mr. Chair, look forward to that. And again, thank you for giving me a little overtime.
Thank you very much.